Today I'm going to talk to you about, and welcome people online, Stairway to Heaven. So tomorrow's the 1st of December, and we've already started in the holiday season. We're already giving and receiving and gearing up, and you know, it's an amazing time of year. But sometimes we lose track of the real purpose for the holiday, which I say unwrap the greatest present of all, which is heaven within you. So what is heaven? How do we experience heaven on earth? What's the symbolism of ascending to heaven and descending into hell? Is this a path of evolution and enlightenment? So now, this season is a time to wake up and realize what heaven is to you, what love is to you, and where it is. It's an expression. It's the divine in human form. You are. And heaven is within. So first a little, I can't say it's a joke. I'll read it to you so you will understand. There's a Sunday school teacher who told a story to her children. She said, if I gave 10% of everything I earned to the church, even my allowance, would I get into heaven? No, they all said, no, you won't get into heaven. And she said, well, if I sold my house and I sold my car and I had a big garage sale and gave all the money to the church, would I get into heaven? They all said, no. Well, what if I worked really hard and became famous and a millionaire and gave millions and millions to the church? Would I get into heaven? No, the children answered. So how do I get into heaven? The little boy in the front raised his hand and he said, you gotta die.
Good.
Now, you might laugh about this, but this is how I was raised. I was raised with this story that somehow I came into this world defective. I was not worthy, I was sinful, I was wretched. I had to know that if I did well in school, went to college, got a good job, married well, when I died, I would get into heaven. Well, I found new thought, and I decided to choose heaven right now. Do you remember the song that Rick Dale sings? He's always singing the Ricky Byers song, I'm choosing heaven today. Well, I play that song all the time. But heaven, I have a quote here from John Paul Roach. He's a unity minister, and he said, heaven and hell are not places to experience after we die, but states of mind during our lives, depending on our thoughts and life choices. Whatever happens after we die is aligned with where we are in our consciousness now. Life is continuous. Only the body is subject to death and birth and death, not the spirit within us. And I have a reading from Ernest Holmes. I just want to, back in the glossary, in case you have forgotten the Science of Mind textbook, he says, about heaven, he says, a state of happiness. State of happiness, yes. Heaven is within. It revolves around us. It is a result of that atmosphere of conviction which our thought awakens within us. The kingdom of heaven is unformed, unlimited, unconditioned. Heaven is not a place, a locality with streets of gold and gates of pearl. It is a real state of being. We do not make it real, for it is eternal reality. If we abide in the Father and he abides in us in harmony, in power, in peace, in wisdom, our thought is friendly, happy, confident, and open. Our kingdom of heaven is a good place in which to live. Yes, I second that. Heaven is a great place to live. Another little short story here. instead of jokes, I'm calling them short stories. Well, there was a guy who decided he was going to write about churches, and so he traveled. He started on the East Coast and came across to the West Coast, and he would go and visit churches and take pictures. And he noticed something, that in several churches there would be a golden phone, and it would say, for a contribution of $5,000 to the church, you could have a direct call to God. And he thought, well, that's kind of clever. Well, several churches had this, and as he went across, he didn't have the money to have the direct phone call, but it kept going until he came out to the West Coast, to a New Thought church, and he noticed there was also a gold phone, but the gold phone had 25 cents for a call. So he went to the minister and said, well, I don't understand. Your church said it was only 25 cents to call God? And the minister said, oh, that's easy. You see, we know in New Thought, God is within us. It's a local call. So again, the kingdom of heaven is not a place you go to, it's a place you come from. You have come from heaven. We're already in heaven. Enlightenment is understanding that there's no place to go, there's nothing to do, there's nobody you have to be except who you are right now. You're already perfect, whole, healed. I like this author. Her name is Joan Chittister. She's a nun, actually. She said, Heaven is the achievement of the peak of being. It's total immersion in the mystery. I like that. It's total immersion in the mystery. It is the real moment of becoming. It is full consciousness of life within us. Heaven is becoming what I am, have always been, and am meant to be in full. I like to read her because I feel she caught the wave. She got bit by the bug, the joy bug. Now we look at it and we say, well, what about hell? The opposite to heaven. We have been given the capacity to create our own hell through destructive thoughts. We have thoughts of fear, we have thoughts of anger, spiteful intentions, and vengeful feelings. Well, when we dwell in a sense of fear and separation, we have created hell. And when we act out of judgment, judging others, or we're hateful, or we're fearful, we're in our own hell. So what do we do about that? We know that thought creates. And if we have created hell, thought can create something much better. Thought can bring us back to creating anew. And anything that's been created, even solid form, can be uncreated, can basically, something greater can be created. So how many of you have been to heaven? Okay. Well, how many have been in love? All right, that's heaven. That's a blessing. Any of you hold a new baby? I had a friend who has a brand new grandchild this last week, and their skin is so soft and they smell so wonderful, and it's a promise of possibilities and new life. That's heaven. Sailing, if any of you sailors and you're out there sailing on a broad reach and you're doing like 6 or 7 knots, and that's heaven. Also, I used to play the flute and the piccolo in a marching band and an orchestra, and I was in the marching band and playing the piccolo. The piccolo is the highest notes, and it's just like I'm lobbing these notes across the trumpet section, and everybody's marching in unison to some wonderful march music, and John Philip Sousa, and I'm in heaven. It was heaven. I mean, there's so many instances in my life, just going to the beach and hugging the sand. You know, when it's hot at the end of the day and you're laying on the sand and you're just loving it, and the sun starts to go down and the cool air is cooling you off, and it's like you hear the birds, you smell the fish. It's like, I'm in heaven. The word heaven in Aramaic is light and sound shining through all creation. I think I like Aramaic. So I want to tell you the story of Jacob's ladder. Jacob was a complex guy. This is a story from the Old Testament, the second chapter of Genesis. And in Hawaii, we would call this guy Kalohe, which means you're kind of devilish, but he's complicated. He's homeless. He's on the run. His brother's looking for him to kill him. You know, it's like, oh man. Yeah. I don't know if he deserved it, but he had made some enemies. He was complicated. So it's dark at night, and he has no place. He's way off into the hinterlands, the high desert. He has no place to go, and he decides to go to sleep, and he takes a rock, and he puts the rock out, and he lays on the rock to sleep. The rock is this pillar. And symbolically, I think, boy, you're really in a hard place if you're sleeping on a rock. You're really desperate. Well, he goes to sleep, and he has this dream, and he sees angels ascending a stairway. And the interpretation is also stairway and ladder are very similar in the different interpretations. And but it's a stairway. It's going up and it's coming down, and the angels are going up and down. He sees this, calls it a ladder to heaven and back to earth. Well, he continues to dream, and God shows up, gives him a blessing, blesses him on his travels, and says he'll protect him. So he's feeling much better about himself. And in the morning he wakes up and he calls the place Bethel, meaning the house of God, and consecrates the rock. But he goes on in life. It takes him a while to learn. It takes him 20 years to finally agree to meet with his brother, because he's afraid. He's afraid his brother's going to kill him, and he's never gotten around to say, I'm sorry. So finally, his brother gets together with him, and he gives him a present. His brother kisses him on the neck, and they both start crying. Like, wow, there's some healing going on. So forgiveness and love have brought them both back to heaven. And, you know, everybody loves to climb ladders. I do. All kids love climbing ladders. We love going up and down, and we like to attain different depths and heights. And we look on life from a different position. You know, nobody stays still. We have to move. A stairway is symbolic of change and intention as opposed to a bridge. You know, a bridge, you're the same altitude, you're the same latitude, going from one. And a lot of times we bridge our young age to our old age kind of subconsciously. It just kind of happens, it flows. There's no real push to change. But we can't transcend our state of consciousness on a bridge. We need new perspective. And the stairway requires us to be awake. We have to watch what we're doing. When we do make a decision and we take a step, where a bridge, you know, subconscious, we're asleep at the wheel. But when we start to ascend or descend, we are conscious of what's going on. In Jacob's dream, there's also the angels as the rising and falling. Angels in the Old Testament also have symbolism of prayers. That means prayers are going up and down, back and forth, earth and heaven. And angels are people going back and forth. So this rising and falling, it's also including words, prayers. Prayers are words. Prayers are vibrations. And the vibration that we send out is one of good, of God. When we give a prayer, we give a spiritual mind treatment. We treat for other people. We know the highest good for them, and that is manifest in their lives. And we're here to pray for you anytime you want. But our words are always acted upon when they are consistent with God. The intent of each heart propels words of prayer and creates good. So have you thought about your own spiritual growth? Have you thought about your own ladder to heaven, your own staircase to heaven? Have you thought, are my words that I'm speaking elevating me or not? Am I descending because I express myself poorly? Am I ascending because I know how to use my words? What is the altitude of your attitude? I have a quote from Charles Fillmore. You may know Charles was the founder of the Unity Movement, he and his wife Myrtle. And he was about 20 years older than Ernest Holmes, who he called the kid. But Charles was very wise. He said, your I am, where I am, your I am is that which carries you up or down to heaven or to hell, according to the idea in which you have attached it. Hitch it to a star. Let it carry you to the broad expanse of heaven. So today, I'm choosing heaven. So it is.